Hello, everybody. Welcome to Women of Consciousness. We are here today with a special guest. So, obviously, Pam is on here. She always is. She's calling in now. We have a special guest, John. He has been on here before, I believe, and he is joining us today as well. And we are going to talk about whatever we feel like. Yay! That sounds so fun.
Right.
Just hopefully John has a chance to say a word.
Can you hear me?
Yep. Can
Okay,
hear you.
cool. All right. Got through the technical difficulties, so that's good.
Well, it's good that you are see, you got your word in. I think that's good. That's a wrap. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. Funny. Okay. So let's get started. What should we talk about? There's energy. We could get, I mean, the sex stuff always works. People like to talk about sex. I like to talk about sex. I don't know if y'all want to talk about sex, but we could do that. Or abstaining from it, which other people don't necessarily like to talk about. Um, we can talk about what's coming up, what's new. Tell me, talk to me.
Well, I'm a guest here, so you lead the way. Yeah, I'm up for any conversation.
I can tell you this. So I've been abstaining from releasing any kind of sexual energy, which has been an interesting journey. And I can tell you this will drive you crazy, especially if you're a highly charged individual. Um, now everybody knows everything about me, right? I'm a highly charged individual. But to see where it's kind of going, and I've had some, bodily stuff show up, just,
Mhm.
healing in terms like I wasn't feeling well because of it. I mean, there's all these things. And, they say blue balls, but I also believe that there's blue uterus, or what is it? Blue ovaries, okay? So anyway,
Agree.
no, I think so.
All
I
right.
don't think it happens. So, but now that I've just like been allowing myself to say, like, all of a sudden I have this energy to want to paint. And so now I'm starting to paint. And like I was saying, John and Pam, I think I'm Picasso. So I'm like just like playing music and going off on painting and stuff. And just kind of letting the energy that shows up move through me and just and paint, and just I don't even know. I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm having fun with it. We'll see where the journey takes me. But also I think in communications, knowing what I want and dreams and all that kind of stuff, the things that shift is pretty profound and crazy as well. So that's kind of where I'm at on my spiritual path.
Mm,
And maybe that's what we just talk about, where we're at spiritually. It doesn't have to even be about the sexual energy. That's I'm working with tantric energy
right.
or
Right.
breathing and breath work and stuff like that. I will say one more thing and then, I'll pass the baton, but like every morning, so the person that I'm doing this work with, we kind of talked, we both do kung fu together. He was like, because I said I wasn't feeling well, I was waking up feeling pretty crappy every morning. And most people, and here's where I think they're wrong, they're like, just jump out of bed. And once you start moving, you feel good. And I think that's absolutely the wrong thing to do. And I'm learning that through this practice where we don't oxygenate our body
Mm,
enough before we even get out of bed. And, I don't even know that we're breathing properly at night while we're sleeping. And so, what I'm doing just to be more nurturing and gentle on myself rather than just being in the very masculine energy of like just jumping up and going for it is to take these really deep breaths in the
mm,
morning for, I'm telling you, like 20 minutes. I'll just lay there just breathing deeply. And I do a yang breath. So, it is a masculine breath. But I'm laying down in a very yin position. So it's almost a balancing kind of act, right? Where I'm kind of like relaxed. And what I've noticed is how much my body feels charged up when I allow the breath to lead the way. And then once I'm ready to get up, I don't feel crappy. So I don't have to be like trying to shake things off. I can stretch gently and stuff. And that's been a super big help for me as well. So painting, breathing, just these basic things are starting to shift in my life, which is pretty interesting. It's taking this interesting kind of turn. where you would think I'd be like kung fu and no, I'm more like, oh, let's breathe and maybe we'll do some tai chi and then now we're gonna paint. So that's what's showing up in my life spiritually, and I'm sharing my paintings. Perhaps I'll sell them. You know what? I think I was gonna sell them, and I was like, I'm gonna sell them so I can make some. But I think I would do it for spirit. I'm so sorry, I almost said spirit and coffee. Women of consciousness, and I think maybe I can put them on our website too for sale if people want to purchase them. Right? It can go into our fund. So I'm pretty excited about these paintings, and I'll be sharing them online. So if you guys want to go online, Women of Consciousness, check them out. I'll be posting them for sale, and maybe when I'm out and about at these events, that I'll be painting and selling this stuff. And it's to help. The money's going to go to our fund to get property so that we can start to develop this property that we want to do. So there I am. I've talked enough. Pass the
You're
baton because I
just
will talk. I'll talk the
so
whole time, and I'm not like super. I'm hyper right now, so you
I
guys got me
know.
at a very hyper time. Okay, so go ahead. Go ahead. I'm done.
Like definitely I love your energy. I can feel like the feminine just creative flow through you.
Right. Yeah.
Especially over like the last few months and how you have opened up and been healing and growing this side of you. So it's really beautiful. And yeah, I know like the last 2 weeks we definitely have been vulnerable and personal and talked about like this tantric kind of practice that we have been undertaking in the journey there. And I would say for me, like this past week, because I'm definitely noticing like waves, and then towards it seems like the weekend is when it gets the heaviest, and I need to like integrate everything. So by like Monday morning, it's like fresh to start the week over. And it was ancestral the past week. And it was really, really heavy ancestral, but not, I don't know. It's like kind of hard to describe the energy, I think, in a way, because it was like an integrated shadow, but it was also, right, because where it's in ancestral DNA, all of that, like, I would say it felt like quicksand, really. Like, it just wanted to pull you in and keep you there. And I can see now so clearly why I think so many people are playing out subconscious stories and wounds. Because I'll tell you, like I'll get really specific. Like my grandmother, my mama, she really hated men. Like, I mean, really, after my Pepe passed and stuff, she just really had a hatred for men. And I think she just saw the toxic masculinity, right? She was born in the 30s. And so like, I don't know, like I just kind of felt some of that in my wave of energy. And so like I had to navigate that and just kind of release and let go. And then we had the full moon. So I did ceremony, and I've been using, like you've been painting with your energy, and I've been truly tapping into embodying like the energy and releasing it through dance. So I had a fire, and I've honestly just been getting naked, and I got naked by the fire. I was out in the sun over the weekend, just sun tanning, just wanting the sun in my skin. So I've just been connecting with nature and like flow and movement of my body to like the rhythm, and just getting more comfortable with my own like confidence. Ended up going on a field trip to a baseball game that was not expected, and I was not wearing the right clothes, and I made the best of it and was like, you know what, I'm me and I don't care. So it's been really beautiful to work on the authentic wounded parts, right, that are trying to shine, and then really understanding, no, this is ancestral shit that I do need to carry, that I can like honor my ancestors, release and let go, and move forward with my own narrative. And the other thing that keeps popping up too, that I know we've discussed, is this like uncharted roadmap, right, of this new paradigm that's unfolding through us and our conscious manifestations and our conscious, collaborations. And so it's really navigating brand new terrain that consciousness hasn't embodied and built and constructed, right? I think in the physical on this earth. That's why it's like that 5D new earth, whatever people want to label it. So it's more awareness of how we are co-creating that space. And again, surrendering and trusting in the unknown and letting go of all the fears.
Right.
Yeah. So I'll pass it to you, John.
All right. Thank you, and I appreciate you guys sharing. Yeah, I've been working with harnessing sexual energy as well, and I think for me, I've done a lot of research. Like I'm big into Hermeticism, and it's referred to as not spilling the cup of Hermes. So it's something that I've been using as a way to give myself more power to generate more of a connection to spirit, to the universe, to nature itself. I know, like you guys said, you've been very creative. I've been using a lot of the energy that's flowing through my system in gardening. The other last week, I dug a hole for a willow tree that is going to be there by any accounts for 100 years. And just being in that space and kind of like digging this hole by hand and really being in the earth and being able to kind of put my hands deep into the earth and recognizing that this hole that was being created was to give life to this tree that's going to be appreciated for a century really gave me this connection to myself and my inner spirit and the greater connection to the universe. And I've really enjoyed being able to harness this cellular energy. And I think, Natalie, you spoke of breath work and breathing this morning. I think both these things, sexual energy and breath work, are two of the most important and potent energies that we can be discovering because everybody has it. I don't care what walk of life you come from, wherever you've been or wherever you're going, you have breath and you have a sexual energy. You have this connection to your own physicality. And I think that that's why it's really important that not only are we practicing how to get deeper into these energies, but coming together and sharing it and our experiences, because I really do believe that we're headed toward a time where people are going to recognize that they have this inert power within them and that it has to be worked with. It doesn't just kind of come out of nowhere, or it's not something that is presented to you, but it's something that you can practice and achieve for your own greater higher energy for spirit. And I think that, yeah, like breath work and the sexual energy is super important because it's difficult. Withholding from yourself pleasures of life, even breath work, getting into a really deep breath work pattern can be trying, and it can be scary at times, but to stick with it and to really, like you were saying, oxygenate your system brings us to a higher level of our own being. And I think that's what's really important. And I really appreciate this space that you guys have created for this type of conversation.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and it's been all of us, right? Like we've all been brave enough to just kind of do this crazy work, which I was telling Jeremy the other day. Why we're crazy. What are we doing? What are we doing? Right? Because there's a point where you're just like, especially if you're a highly charged person sexually, that to abstain from releasing the energy, it's not easy. It's a challenge. It's a challenge. But then there's this point where it's kind of just there, and
It
then
gets
you
easier.
have to do something with it if you're not going to release that energy the way that we know how to release the energy, right? And so it's like, well, now what do I do with this? And it opens up this potential that you don't even know was there. Like I had no idea, because I always thought, oh, if I release this energy in a proper way, that's good. That's a good thing. And I'm like, oh no, it's harnessing the energy within me and wielding it internally, and then being able to co-create with it, to co-participate with it, to understand what it even wants from me. And all of a sudden, I want to paint. And I had always had this desire to do that, but I would never do it. And
Mm.
now I just can't. I'm like, that's all I wanna do. I'm like, "Oh, give me the paint," and I just wanna start painting everything. I'm like, "Oh my," I was painting my hands.
Mm.
So if you saw one of the paintings I did, and even the sensation of just putting the paint on my hands, I was like,
Mhm.
"Whoa."
Yeah,
Like, I think
I
you're
love
more heightened
painting
and stuff. Yeah, and
with
then
the
to put
fingers on the canvas, yeah,
uh-huh,
Right.
yeah.
yeah. It's that co-participation with the stuff, so but I think it's all of us, and I think, like you said, touching the soil is something that I've wanna do as well, like playing with mud, playing with clay,
Mhm.
playing
Yeah.
with
Yes. Oh,
uh-huh.
I've so been craving, like, pottery classes,
Mhm. Mhm, mhm.
yeah, really calling me, the pottery. One thing I noticed, that I thought was really interesting was in a outside of this space, right? Before we got into this or in the normal day to day, or even in the moments where there's still like a complete lack of that kind of Kundalini energy, right? Like there's creativity, but it feels like a faucet where it's just like a slow drip. And
Mm.
so it's like maybe I'll get like, a good idea, or I have to kind of like make space to think about, the projects or whatnot, right? Especially like with the business. But in the other times when that Kundalini energy, because my lower back has just been in fire, on the other side of like the belly button, when I have that, right, when I know the Kundalini is active and I know it's like the base of that sexual energy,
Mm.
but it's not being, played out in that stream, that's when I feel like it's the faucet's open and everything's being channeled. So like creativity is just there. Like I don't even have to make space or time to
Mhm,
make it a conscious thing. It's just naturally guiding me.
Mm.
mhm.
So that's been one thing to really kind of, and again, like that drained and filled cup in your, your chest area when you're, happy, or when you're really drained and exhausted by others. It's even like that kind of feeling too, I've noticed.
Mhm.
Feeling way more fulfilled and energized, compared to the exhaustion.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. Just having more, I think I've been more tolerant for other people's energies as well, where like
Yes.
I can totally be in my own security and comfort. And if, somebody's like, you could tell their energy's off, you almost have like total space for them. And I don't need
Hmm.
to engage and it doesn't affect me. It's more kind of like, oh, that's what's going on in your field. But in my field, I know I know where I'm at, because I can feel this energy coming through me. I think that's been something I've found, and I've just had more energy in general. Like you were saying, kind of popping out of bed. Like I am that kind of like masculine energy of popping out of bed, but it's been so easy for me in the last few weeks where I can be up late and kind of wake up early and do a full day and just really have good spirits and really being able to just interject with people on a different level where I'm a lot more friendly, or I'm a lot more kind of like charismatic because I just have this energy that's flowing.
Absolutely.
Mm,
I think and
that's
I
awesome.
think too, I know that, that's exactly what's happening with Jeremy as well. It's like the energy's there. It's a lot. It's, um it's helping him get through the day, and that's the same for me as well. It's like, whoa, it's actually even helped both of us overcome some of these quote unquote addictions that were not necessarily the best for us. Like I can't say coffee is like a terrible addiction, but I do feel like it had some I think I might have ulcers because of it. I'm not 100% sure, but I do know that my stomach was not responding well and I kept trying to quit and stuff like that. And I think the natural energy that's circulating through me is just pushing it out. It's just like,
Mhm.
okay, I'm just not going to do this. And
Mhm.
I think I had a craving like once where I was like, oh, it'd be nice to have some coffee. And I was like, yeah, but is it really? So it's just weird what the energy does to you when you abstain from it. And it's not easy to it wasn't easy, actually. It was a very difficult thing for me not to release, right? Because it's been a while. It's and by a while, I mean, well, maybe like a little over a month or something like that. So I would say, there's people who've gone longer and stuff, but just abstaining, like, again, when you're a fully charged person, to hold on to that energy and let it circulate through you. It moved through some obstructions in my body. I detoxed a little bit in my body. I had
Mm,
some pain around it. it's just been, and then all of a sudden when that energy was able to move through me, now I'm just like, what do I do? That's what I'm saying, because I already am like a hyper person. I always have a lot of energy, and now it's like full on
Mhm.
natural potential, natural energy. And now I'm like, what in the world am I supposed to do with all this? I don't even. So painting, I'm just like painting and then crocheting again, and it's just it's crazy. And then I think you said like with individuals too. I haven't really paid attention to that, and thanks for pointing that out, because I'm wondering how that is impacting my relationship to other individuals around me. I think that's something I'm just going to start paying attention to, just to see, like, you
Mhm.
know, am I able to hold more space
Mhm.
Mm.
and then also have more of a boundary too of what's mine
Yeah.
and what's not
Yeah.
my energy. Yeah.
Right. I found that I'm more confident and more friendly. And I've
Mm-hmm.
had a more
Yep.
playfulness energy too.
Mhm.
That's authentically been
Mm-hmm.
just coming out. And I like that because I feel like, why does it all have to be so complicated? Like, I'm just looking for simplicity
Right.
and just, like, I just want to feel safe, right? Like, at the end of the day, there's always that root of us that needs
Uh-huh.
protection and safety, while we can just kind of go out and be curious and adventurous.
Yeah.
And so, like, I'm just finding balance in all of that, knowing, like, go explore the world. Like, it's okay.
That's a good point. Yeah, I think, and again, I think what we're doing is kind of turning on different parts of our DNA
Oh,
through this
absolutely.
energy. And I think that's really what I'm starting to feel like. This is like, I feel like, Natalie, you were saying all the physical symptoms. Like I was working through some physical symptoms too, but these are the blockages, I believe, that are in our system that we're dedicating this energy to healing. And,
Mhm.
I think that's that process of really putting in the effort. Like you said, it's not easy. It's not easy. None of it, but again, it's like nothing that's like really easy is like
Right.
worthwhile, so
Right.
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 go- going in and really sacrificing, and that's really, I think, what it comes down to is
Right.
it's sacrificing an aspect of your energy field for a better version of yourself, and through that sacrifice you get the reward. And I've definitely discovered that it's definitely not easy, but it's something that is so powerful that it shouldn't be easy.
Right. It dawned on me though, honestly, the hero's journey, like slaying the inner dragon.
Sure, absolutely.
Like, I feel like this is like the ultimate, like the ultimate dragon to slay is this energy. And it is, like you had said, disempowerment, right? We are like reclaiming fragmented pieces of our soul and our
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
energy that was impacted by a lifetime of others and society and the
Mhm.
collective and ancestral. So it's like crusty layers of low vibrational energy that has like formed a shell around us, and breaking free of that so our natural aura can be intact, and it's
Mm-hmm.
beautiful.
Mm.
Yeah, and to feel safe, I think that's the biggest thing. And I think,
Yeah.
and I know I keep saying it, that it's really a gift to have, men join us on the journey to do
Hmm.
this, right? To be able to have men, because typically it's like, oh, well, it's about women. And there's kind of this like, I don't know, it's like either all men or all women, and then it's never this both and men and women, and then working at the same thing and even being committed to work at the same thing, which is a difficult task. I mean, you have to have gone through some pretty deep spiritual stuff to get to a point where you're like, look, I'm willing to abstain and still be in the presence of people who charge me up, because that's
Mhm.
hard, right? That's not an easy thing to do. Be around someone that you're like, well, I just want to share this whole energy with you all the way. And then you can't, because you're like, I'm using that energy for myself and my own healing. I
Mhm.
can't give it away. I can't just release that. It's for me right now. I have to learn how to use it for myself first
Right.
before I can start wielding it with another person, which is just so it's beautiful. And I think it's very, very, it's not, I don't know if it's an easy thing for most
Mm,
people to come to. So I think it's a
mm,
gift. I think I'm grateful that, I have an individual that I can do this work with. I
Yeah.
have you guys
Mhm,
that we can do
mhm,
this work with, right? Because all of us are doing this work together as
Mhm.
well.
mhm.
And to have these dialogues, like,
Right.
I don't know, maybe there are other people doing this kind of work and talking about it. Um, but then it would be just as crazy as we are, because this is some crazy stuff. I'm not
I was
gonna
gonna
lie.
say, with the stuff I've studied about like tantric and everything, I don't think there was ever disclaimers of like all of the crap. I don't
But
know.
but
Maybe
that's
I
why it's
didn't research enough or whatever. I don't know.
but that's the thing. Like everybody's journey is going to be different. So you can read
Right.
anything about it, and
That's what I
your
was just
journey
thinking.
is still going to be
Intuition. Like,
different,
yeah.
right? So
Not gonna lie, I didn't really read a lot. I just
Feel like I read an article one
well,
day.
I mean, this is
right.
ancient. I mean, people have been writing about this for thousands of years. Like,
Oh
and
Sure.
yeah,
and
yeah.
that's
Well, I
why I
mean,
think
like
it's so important for us
Hinduism.
to be really looking at it in our culture in this day and age right
That's
now,
true. That's
because
correct.
we're on this shift, because we're
Sure.
trying to
Yep.
really change the collective. And I think the
Yes.
conversations that we're all having have really, I think, just been fantastic for both individual growth, like my growth, like I'm sure everybody in the groups, and
Mhm.
the collective in general, because we're
That's
opening
right.
ourselves up to the idea that we like you were saying, Pam, we're going into uncharted territory, and to have somebody to talk to and to understand you and to give you feedback from their own experience has been monumental.
Mm, that's so
Yeah.
true. Yeah. Just to have the feedback and all that stuff. Oh my god. It's
Right.
just it's crazy. I'll tell you what. There's no other word for it. But great. That's all I keep saying, man. What am I doing, Natalie? What am I doing? At first I'm like, this is torture.
Yeah.
Self-sabotage.
Like
But it's not. It's
causing
like
your
you
own
said,
suffering.
Pam, like, yeah. But it's like picking up the fragmented pieces, like you said, which that's true. It is.
Yeah.
It's kind of reclaiming those little shards that have been left behind to try to make the pot,
Mhm.
or complete the pot that was shattered or whatever it is. So I do agree with that, and I do believe that you're right. It's supporting the collective in
Mhm.
a lot of ways, like you were saying, John, like it is, and it's such an important conversation to have, especially now with all the confusion around gender and all this stuff that's kind of going on. There's a lot of different narratives circulating and people feeling kind of confused about their identity or who they are or what they are, all this kind of stuff. And they're like, well, I'm nothing or I'm everything. And yes, that is true, but they're not understanding that it's not even the external part of us that matters. It's that internal dialogue between the sacred feminine and masculine, right? And being able to fight the bride's chamber and the marriage between the sacred feminine and masculine within us, that energy
Mhm.
within us, the potential within us. And I'll tell you, I had this like vision of even the Kundalini that I'm not 100% sure that the picture is right, at least for me. If I had to change the model would start with a mama snake at the base, this big snake that's just a portal that gives birth to the two that move up. And I felt that like deep, 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 deep down. I was
Mhm.
like,
Mm.
whoa, because there's always in one, there's three, right? There's always
Right.
three. This is the
One to one
Hermetic
is
truth.
true.
And yeah, exactly.
Mm.
So out of that was that mother snake, which was just this big, like, boa constrictor. I don't know what it was. Like the biggest snake you could think of, just there, right? Like always was, that gave birth to these like two snakes that just started to weave up. And I was like, whoa. Like, I think at the base, there's this bigger portal, to be
Yeah.
honest with you. Kind of like they say, the third eye is a bigger portal.
Mhm.
And I think it's the same thing, even at the base. And, I don't know, maybe there are pictures that depict that. I haven't really looked, but that was the experience I had. And I was like, whoa.
That's really cool.
Yeah, you should
Yeah.
paint it. Paint what you're seeing.
Yeah, I know. Into the Kundalini up to the yin yang or something, or starting from the yin yang and the snakes coming out. That would be kind of cool.
Right.
Kind of
Totally.
like that idea. That would be good. That'd be good. I like that. It's a good idea. I will. Maybe I will.
All
But
I'm
yeah,
thinking
that
is
was
snake and ayahuasca. Symbol of the
well,
medicine
yeah.
pollen.
Uh-huh, uh-huh. Yeah. But I mean, it's just I don't know. That's kind of the vision I had, and I was like, and I not even vision. I felt it like weird, like you give birth to
Yeah.
these things or
Mhm.
something. I don't even know how to describe it,
Yeah.
other than like I felt like there was this thing that gives birth to these energies, like at the lower, they call it the Dantian, right? In Kung Fu,
Yep.
we call it
Yeah.
the Dantian, and just giving birth to these things. And I was like, whoa, like I'm having like a Kundalini birth or something. I don't know what's going on. And then I'm like, am I crazy? It's like, and should I be doing this work? Because I don't know. I might go into psychosis and people might think that I'm losing my mind.
No, you're definitely not losing your mind or crazy. It's not
No.
psychosis. You seem to be
Yeah.
handling it quite well.
I think like genius and psychosis have like a very like fine line, you know. So you
Yeah.
gotta, you know, and really,
Sadness.
even like with the energy of the universe, like
Mhm.
throughout this practice, like I've been recognizing that things have been going really good for me, and I've had some like really great experiences, and I ended up getting a new job that I absolutely love during this period, and
Oh,
it's like, am I changing the universe, or is the universe changing because of my vibration? So you have to like stop and be like, I'm clearly, a co-creating with this energy. And
Right.
that's, and that there's something very special in that, recognizing that I'm outside of a liminal space. I'm in a sacred space because I'm keeping my energy as a divine source and
Mhm.
allowing the universe to respond to that. And, it can be mind blowing, and you have to kind of sit with that and be like, whoa, but it's true. And it's that potent and powerful.
yeah, and both. It's not an either or, right? It's like an and both. Like, am I
Right.
creating the universe or your universe creating me? Both
Right.
Right.
and both, and together, which is just wow. It's just so, it is crazy. I trip out. I'm like, this stuff is like deep and it's
Mhm.
not for the weak. And now I can understand why people that have these kind of awakenings that are super fast can kind of go
Mhm.
crazy because
Mhm.
it surfaces like this deeper trauma that's like deeper than, like you go to a therapist for. I mean, this is
Oh,
stuff is like
absolutely.
Yeah.
DNA, like you were talking about
Yeah.
earlier. It's changing the DNA for
Yep.
sure.
Right. Oh, absolutely. Well, it's touching numinous energy. Like, this is very powerful. It's very divine, in my opinion. And I think that that's, like we were saying, touching numinous energy can really be difficult when you come back from that. If you're not prepared and you're not completely grounded, you can think you're crazy or sound like you're crazy. Definitely.
Yep.
So I think that that's important, to even have that discussion of being able to ground yourself and to be able to process this energy. I think that's the most important part of this whole scene.
Yeah, I agree.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
yeah.
Sounds, I was
So,
waiting for Pam to say something. I'm like, Pam, you want to say something? She's like, no,
Well,
not really.
no, listen, listen, you guys. No, I agree for sure. It's been a heck of a ride, just of self-awareness. I think it comes to it surrender and a sense of dedication to yourself, right? To this highest potential that's unfolding. Because what you resist persists, and to fight it or deny it, I think that's where we just keep ourselves stuck in comfort zones that cause suffering and pain. Um, when we've really have to recognize when we've outgrown containers, right? And we need to expand beyond that. And with this practice, I think it was beautiful in alignment of like our kind of spiritual initiation process, right? Because again, part of like that alchemical stages, we're talking about co-creating from the universe's dance, right? When they're taking the lead, they're the
Mhm.
ones that know the stages to kind of guide us through. And so it's like, okay, are you willing to participate in this next round of initiation? Are you willing to walk through these challenges and apply your wisdom. But look at how transformed you'll be on the other side of that. Um, and so I think in our evolutionary journey for our own conscious, essence, tantric is obviously where we're all aligned and elevated to. Um, we're all taking accountability and responsibility for our healing and our energy space and how that interacts with others. I think it's really beautiful and intentional and purposeful. And it has within not even a month, right? Like three weeks or so, maybe 4 weeks, kind of completely shifted and altered where I thought my journey was going come
Mhm.
spring. And now I'm just like, okay, I'm going to water and nourish this garden internally for the summer and see what the heck manages to be harvested by fall, because I just don't know. And I think surrendering to the now, and just trusting more than ever, because everything does seem to be getting lighter, and there's more beauty, I think, for me.
Yeah, I agree. But like you said, unless, some of that shadow stuff comes up, and then that can kind of come up out of nowhere. I've been recognizing that, I do feel great and a lot of energy and a lot lighter. And then all of a sudden, bam, I'm in this like deep
Waves.
thing where yes, and I'm working through stuff, but it's a lot. I wouldn't say easier to work through it, but it's not as much as of a challenge. I don't ever get under the energy. I'm kind of face to face with the energy. And I think that's really important, because that shadow aspect has to come out. It's in there. And I think that's really what we're pushing out of ourselves, and why we're able to start opening up some of these new DNA lines, because we are doing the ancestral healing, and these things are coming up, and you're able to kind of appreciate it for the fact that it's got to come out in order to get out.
Right. And it gets easier, I think, because you're more self-aware, right? So that's where the wisdom comes in, because you're like, okay, I've already gone through this experience. I already know what this energy is asking of me. I can, step back and observe it, right? Like that's huge when you can self-regulate and observe, and you're not reacting to the triggers. And that's why I was saying with the ancestral stuff, it felt like quicksand, because it just wanted to keep me trapped there. And it would have been so easy to just been like cold-hearted and just stayed there, because again, it was like an integrated part of shadow. Like it was already healing in things like I've already, have done, like the dark goddess, the dark mother, as a creator goddess, destroy and create. That's so powerful. And like, I don't know what that's like for men. I don't know like what God kind of energy like you guys would really channel and work with, but for me, like dealing with like Callie, wow, man, like I could literally burn the world down. Like I could instantly, set my house on fire, not care at all. Like I'll rebuild it all, right? I don't have to be attached to nothing. I can start over in a minute. So healing through that and embracing that shadow and light and that wholeness, as my journey has been really beautiful. So to come to this point and be like, no, that's ancestral and I'm not going to do it. I'm going to just honor my meme and my, my great aunt and release that. But that's why I'm like, man, for those that are just not aware, not doing it, you don't even realize the layers and the layers.
Exactly.
And it's never ending.
Never ending. There's always more.
It's a never ending thing, right? Because it's always, especially here. But I think a lot of what I've been doing is allowing what's meant for me to emerge, which, the concept of it is like people, they hear these concepts and you understand the concepts, but to live it is a whole other experience, right? And I always tell the listeners that, because to actually embody it is a whole other thing, and it triggers something in you. And I've been really focused on letting whatever emerge. And the things that I feel attached to, that I'm like, oh, it didn't go the way I want, is to be like, then it wasn't for me, rather than trying to cling to the idea of what should be. It's being like, if it was for me, it would be. And it's not. So I can just like kind of let it flow out of the way because something else is going to come along that's for
Right.
me. And so, and just letting things emerge. And that's like, to get to that point is almost timeless in a way.
Yeah.
There's not really a time attached to it. It's more of a flow with time. I don't know, or it's timeless. Yeah,
It's
go
kind of
ahead,
like
Jim.
being in the now, being present,
Mhm,
because you're not in the
mhm,
past and you're not in the future. You can literally
mhm,
be present. And that's a beautiful thing because nobody's present. And I think that's why we're always so
Mm-hmm.
depressed or anxious. We're worried about what's to come or what just happened. And to be able to say, well, that was supposed to happen and what's going to happen will be there when it's supposed to be. And right now is where I'm supposed to be is
mhm,
that's a lot. That's a lot to condition yourself for, especially in the
mhm.
world that we're living in. That's basically telling you, you better think about tomorrow and don't forget about what happened yesterday.
Yep, it's true. And the anxiety that comes with that, right? Because
Mhm.
you have to deal with anxiety. If you're thinking about the future, you have to deal with depression. If you're thinking about the past, you have to deal with all these to kind of get to this space of letting things unfold and unveil themselves.
Mhm.
And for me, I work with declarations, intentions, and milestones. I've done that forever. The declaration itself, and this is when I was doing the coaching stuff, the declaration itself was allowing that whatever it is to emerge from the essence of who you are internally. The who are you, right? The internal who am I, and knowing who I am. And so from that, what's going to emerge from the I am, right? So if
Mhm.
I am free, then I get to be free. What does freedom feel like? How do I experience freedom? Anything that's not freedom to me or doesn't have that experience is not freedom. So it's not for me. So the declaration itself is like your essence actually unfolding, and to be in that space is, yeah, it's not, it isn't that easy. It's not, it takes practice,
Mhm.
and that's why I love kung fu, right? Kung fu means mastery through time and effort, meaning you have to put time and effort into it. So it's not something that just happens overnight. And it takes the practice of walking through these uncomfortable spaces, the shadow, like you said, and then taking it even deeper. Like we're going deeper into something that most people don't even dare to try, which is to
Mhm.
like abstain from their sexual energy and let it move through them, work with the energy, um, and just hold it in you and see what shows up. I can tell you the first time I wanted to punch something, like there was anger there. I was like, I just want to release this energy. And now it's not, I'm not so angry. I'm more like, okay, it's there. I can feel it, but what can I do with it? What is it telling me? And
Mm-hmm.
how is it
Mhm.
helping me co-create? And then letting things emerge from that energy. I mean, God, I don't know. I mean, I think this is the actual way to manifest in your life. This is
Yeah.
the true
Mhm.
essence of manifestation, is wielding your sexual energy
Right.
Mhm.
and learning how to bring it up and out
I
into the
agree.
world, right? As above, so below, because then you're
Yep.
pulling the energy
Yes.
from, you're pulling it up, and then it's the heart space, and then
Yeah.
boom, it's like radiating everywhere.
Yeah.
It's pretty crazy.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
I was able to do that, like you're talking about with the breath work and stuff,
Mhm.
to bring it up, right? To bring it up from the root chakra, right between the thighs and the groins.
Uh-huh.
And then my third eye was, it was beyond a mind space I had ever been able to really be into. And like the whole Merkaba kind of joining and
Mhm.
solidifying. Um,
Mhm.
and then being able to do a little bit of astral travel with that.
Mhm. Mhm.
Yeah,
Mhm.
that was right off, I think, in like the first week.
Yep.
So it was, and with me with the breath work, like sometimes I feel like I have shortness of breath, and I always hold my breath a lot. So I've had to be like more conscious with catching attention and really intentionally breathing deep and
Mhm.
slow. Um, and so like trying to get in that whole breath of fire thing in yoga, oh my gosh, that kicks my butt.
I love
Um,
it.
but like trying to get into that deep, deep stomach space, and like I was able to do that through the chakras, align them. So it was a really powerful
Mhm.
place that I hadn't been able to really connect with prior.
Yep.
Yeah, I think you make a good point. I think, harnessing the sexual energy brings so much more energy to all other practices, like spiritual practices. Like, what I've found when I've been meditating or doing breath work in this period, it's just more intense, and I get more out of it and I feel more aligned with spirit. And I know that's just because I'm recirculating this energy throughout my system. And I think that, like you were saying before about dedication, it's showing spirit you're dedicating the most important energy you have to this process. And I think the rewards come, pretty well in this. And it's been very interesting to witness.
I like that. I really do. I like that. It's using that sacred energy for self-healing, the most important, the
Oh
most
my gosh.
powerful.
Yeah.
And instead of releasing it, holding it in to heal and then learning where to place it
Yeah.
in the future, because you're going to be more mindful about where you kind of throw that energy when you're ready to release it too.
Hmm.
You
Hmm.
know, which is that's a whole, I'm sure that's a whole other thing, I mean, I don't know. I know that eventually I will release it, but when I do, like, intentionally, like, who knows what, I don't know what's gonna I don't know, because I haven't done it yet. This is a whole new thing. So we to be continued, I guess. I don't tell you, I'm about maybe a week or so. I
I
only have
definitely
the
have an
second.
idea, but I don't know.
Yeah, I know. Lay out the second, so I'll tell you the next day. We'll let you guys know what happens. If I'm not here and disappeared, then you know. No, I'm just kidding. What happened to Natalie? Well,
I
let
feel
me
like
just
it's
tell
gonna be the best sleep I get ever that night.
I
I'm gonna
know.
sleep like a baby.
Like, who knows? Who knows?
That
Who
or I'll
knows?
finally write my book.
Yeah, I mean, who knows? I just have no idea. I just have no idea. And then it's
Right.
on to the next thing. Like, okay, now let's harness more energy and see. Because I think we're releasing kind of that.
Hmm.
Like, for me, I'm gonna do this ritual where I'm just like, all of the healing that I did during this, I'm releasing that energy and letting it go. And
Yeah.
I'm like, release it to the cosmos and release it in a pleasureful way. I mean, I
Yeah.
think I said this last time, you know what I mean? I'm like, oh, I'm releasing pleasure, even though it was all this pain, I'm releasing it
Right.
in a
Wow.
pleasureful way, right? So it's like,
Right.
Very, very cool.
so there you go. I mean, rather than in an angry, frustrated, I want to punch you in the face way.
Yeah. No, I'm definitely taking mine in a ceremonial weekend.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
Super excited to just connect with, yeah, nature and
Uh-huh.
the
Uh-huh.
sacrament of San Pedro.
Yeah.
Yep.
um,
That's really cool. Yeah, and
it's yeah, going to be beautiful to see what is on the other side.
Mm.
we'll have to get on a podcast,
Mm,
because I think we're at the end of this podcast, if I'm correct.
yeah.
But we will get on another podcast once we'll be on before then, obviously. And John, you're always welcome to come on whenever you want. Like,
Oh, I
so,
appreciate that. Thank you very much. This has been
you know,
awesome.
yeah, you're always welcome to come on
Yeah, it's
John's
great having
podcast.
you. Thank you.
It is, but we will be sharing. Make sure that you guys follow us on Women of Consciousness .com. We have our Facebook, Instagram on there. You could also find the things that we offer. We do some tarot readings. We do oracle readings. We also are doing Goddess Circle facilitation. We're going to be updating that on our website as well. We are working
Sensual
with
self-care is the topic for June.
sensual self-care. Sensual self-care. I think a lot of people are very interested in sensual self-care.
Yeah.
So please join us on that one. Men of Consciousness, we are working with men as well, which is so fun. And to find out, how do we co-create together? How do we have these very important conversations that we're having? And how do we move forward as a society? And again, I think I'm going to be posting those paintings up there. I would love for people to purchase them, because guess what? They're going to go directly towards property. So be nice to get people to get excited about that. And you guys can partake with us in a community setting. That would be great, right?
Right. So
Okay.
we can do
Anything
some
else,
retreats.
Pam? Anything else, Pam, John?
I just want to say thank you guys. This has been awesome, and I really appreciate the space that you've created.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, thanks for joining us. Yeah, no, it was a pleasure. I look forward to next week.
I do
After
too.
ceremony.
Yeah, look forward to the ceremony as well.
There you go. Have a good evening. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.